This video is for the cycle breakers who are like me that decided decades ago that the dysfunction of their narcissistic family system was ending with you. You decided that that dysfunction would not be passed down the line. And then you found your healing, awakening, spiritual journey, whatever you call it, to be able to end that pattern. But there is a very important part on this journey. This one thing, which I want to talk about in this video, is a game changer so that you are not continually in the avoiding relationships phase, the endless healing phase, or the constant getting the trauma bonds or the lessons to show you that you've still got some healing to do. This very one thing is what changed the game for me. I spent years continuing those patterns in relationships with men, friends, work. It was everywhere until I mastered this one thing. I tried avoiding relationships. It kept me really alone. I tried dating and I would end up with a trauma bond, a soul lesson, rather than the love I really craved for. I would work on my relationship with money and manifest a whole load of it and not be able to hold it because of this one thing. And the reason was shame. So the shame that was passed down the family line from the abuse that was suffered in the narcissistic environment and narcissistic family system was the shame that I was holding on to. So even though I was working on myself, I was trying to make changes, I could never really get past a point until I started to seriously dissolve the layers of shame. Dissolving the layers of shame is what created change and transformation so that I was actually able to have a healthy romantic relationship and marry this man rather than running away from it or sabotaging it or feeling like it was boring, like my nervous system loved it. And that's why we've been together for 7 years. I could hold on to that relationship and not sabotage it, which a younger version of myself would have found that kind of available love so unfamiliar, it would have ran a mile away. Shame also leaked into every area of my life, from my relationship with money to my relationship with body to my relationship with having children and fertility. It leaked everywhere. So that's why we have to get to the root of shame in order to clear it so it doesn't keep repeating and you can truly get rid of it for the next generation. Breaking the cycle doesn't just mean ending the pattern. It also means removing the shame from your energetic field so it doesn't pass along. It means claiming a higher standard of life across the board in all relationships. That's what cycle breaking is. That's what happens when we say, this is going to end with me. We have such a big reason, right? Because of what we suffered growing up was so bad. And as sensitive kids, you're like, I am not going to repeat that. So you have this really big why to not repeat the pattern, but your ego can get involved and it sort of protects you from having what you truly desire because it's unfamiliar. But when we dissolve the shame, your nervous system doesn't have to protect you because it's like, oh, this is actually good. You have the big reason why you're ending the cycle. You want healthier love and relationships and you long for that family that you wish that you had and that you're going to create yourself, right? And in order to do that, the roots of the family that you're going to grow through the love of your relationship, through the relationship with your children, through the presence that you have, the nervous system that you have, the career that you have that supports that, all of that must come from a soil that does not have shame in it. In this video, I'm going to talk about the frequency of shame and how shame is showing up currently for you in your relationships, in your body, in your success. I'm going to talk about the source of shame, which is why it's so important for you to get rid of it. We're going to talk about shame in your energetic field. And we are also going to end with a practice that you can do right now to support you in dissolving the shame from your energetic field and breaking this pattern at the root once and for all. This is a two-part series. So today we're going to go through the big why you need to do this, so you can just get really amped up. And then the next video will be how to end the cycle of shame. I'm going to tell you exactly what the steps are. Brené Brown is a shame researcher and I love her work. And the quote that she shares, well, she shares many quotes, and the one that I love is, if you put shame in a petri dish, it needs three things to grow: secrecy, silence, and judgment. And empathy is the antidote. So if you douse it in empathy, it just cannot survive. the thing is, we carry this shame in the dark parts of us, in our shadows, hiding away, kind of impacting our lives without us really knowing. It's very unconscious. But what we do with these videos and these conversations that we're having is we shine light into them. And we look at them with love and compassion and can understand why we have that, and then dissolving them. So it no longer needs to carry on as that ugliness in the room. You're cleaning it up, you're bringing in light into it. These videos are going to empower you to dissolve the shame with the practice, with explaining how we do it. And I'll also go deeper into how you do that embodied in the real world when we've had a lot of shame projected onto us from our families. When we douse shame with empathy, it loses its power. And as someone that lived with shame my entire life, I saw it constantly reflected back to me in the way that I looked at my body. I absolutely hated my body. In any interaction with anybody, from friends to family to work, anything at all, I would see rejection and shame reflected back. It impacted how I treated my body. It impacted what I felt I was worthy for in relationships. It was an infection. I always thought it was because I was less than somebody else. I was a less of a human being because of that early start in life, having the narcissistic parent that was like, you are bad, you are not good enough. And just having that message on repeat constantly that I was less of a human or the world's problems were my own. And even though I've been healing for like over a decade, these little bits of shame stories were hiding inside of my energetic field. So even though I'd work on myself, those patterns would still come up. To truly end the cycle, we have to go to that root of that shame and dissolve it. When you dissolve shame, you align yourself with the frequency of love, which is abundance, which is money, which is family, which is partnership, which is love, which is friendship, which is all these great things. But when we are vibrating with dominant frequency of shame, then that's attracting those thoughts, those experiences, those relationships in our lives. So we're going to talk about the David Hawkins scale first. So David Hawkins has this vibrational chart. And as you can see, shame is the lowest vibration. So it's the densest emotion that doesn't particularly feel great, right? And then we have love, which is the other end of the scale. And that is more expansive, whereas shame is more contracted. Shame is just an emotion that we have here on the planet, but it's a lower frequency. It doesn't feel as good. It's not something that helps you to thrive or to have a higher standard of life. It causes human suffering, right? So, what happens to kids of narcissist abuse and trauma is that they are a smaller percentage. 10% of the population is carrying the dominant vibration of shame, grief, apathy. And that is because you have been in an environment when your brain was developing that was absorbing shame, right? So the narcissist, the way that they're speaking to you, criticizing you, the lack of emotional safety in the environment to be yourself, that is shame on repeat. And when we look at the abusers, the narcissist or whoever it was, they also had that done to them. So it's like this karmic pattern that is playing out again and again and again. And people are not shown how to dissolve the shame, so they project it onto other people. So 10% of the population have this when they are at the bottom of the hierarchy. So in my house as a small child, I'm bottom of a hierarchy and I am like prime suspect. I'm also the daughter. So I'm like the prime suspect to absorb my dad's shame. And it was repeated and again and again and again. And then it was that vibration that was living in my thoughts, my feelings, my actions, my cells, every part of me. So a child that was abused, and especially one that's sensitive and empathic, I'm not going to project that. I'm not going to shame other people because I don't want them to feel bad. I know what that feels like. I'm not going to do it to others. But what you do instead is you become the internalized shamer. So you don't shame and abuse others, but you end up shaming and abusing yourself and have that really harsh inner critic because of that beginning part of life, because of that repetition, because of the environment that you were living in, because of what you were hearing, because of what you were seeing. And that's just that constant nervous system that's created in this shame-filled environment. And when I look at my dad, who was the abuser in my house, he'd had the same thing done by his dad, who was an addict and an abuser as well. So it's just a pattern that's repeating, and the children don't know how to process and move past it. So it just keeps running their system. So either they'll go on to abuse others or they'll go on to abuse themselves. And because you are somebody that's decided that you're going to end that pattern, you have to end the cycle of shame that's living inside of you, which is our next video. But I just wanted to show you what that actually looks like. So when you're having that, oh, I'm not enough, or I'm not worthy, or it's not working out for myself, or I need to heal myself constantly, or I'm having these really unhealthy relationships, it's because of the shame that has been circulating around your energetic field from pretty much from conception and then as you were developing into an adult. The lie about shame is that you're a bad thing, but you're not a bad thing. You just felt that message so much. It now feels like an embodied truth inside of your body, but you can change that. You can shift that with your attention, with your focus, and with your love. And you don't need an abuser to be like, I'm gonna end this. They need to say sorry to me. You don't need that. This is all an internal process. When you decide that I'm not living with that frequency of shame in my field anymore, I'm gonna move from shame and I'm gonna take myself into an energy of love. What I found when I had shame, and I have been working on myself for a long time. So even when I met my husband and I managed to marry him and hold on to that relationship, I hadn't fully released shame. It's layers. So I'd got over a layer to be able to have the romantic relationship. Then as I started a business and went on to help other people, I had to take other layers off as well. And when I wasn't taking those layers off and I was chasing an external validation and achievement, so I wouldn't feel the shame, so I'd feel good enough, so I'd feel worthy of happiness, of peace, of safety. And that wasn't coming from outside of me, that had to come from within, from dissolving the shame. That's why it's so important. Let's talk about what's happening in the energetic field when there's shame, right? So this is a diagram of it. And as you can see, your energetic field is your thoughts, your feelings, your actions at a multi-dimensional level. So it'll be your physical body, it'll be your emotional body, it'll be your energetic body, it'll be your mental body, it would be your nervous system. It would also be how you relate to others, so your relational body. And all of these different things, when they are vibrating from shame, so when you are vibrating from shame physically, that means you don't take care of your body, you don't value it, you talk to it really badly, you treat it really badly, you make it last on the list. You maybe hate the way it looks. You're maybe trying to change it all the time. Eating disorders, all this kind of stuff is like shame in the physical body. Shame in the emotional body is talking to yourself really badly, ignoring your emotions, shoving your emotions down with food or other kinds of substances like alcohol, for example. So emotionally, you're like, shut up. You're a really abusive, horrible parent to yourself, right? Emotionally, you're ignoring the emotions when shame is like when you're feeling like you're an awful person, you're like this revolting person, or whatever it is, you're not resetting that. You're continuing to abuse yourself the way you were abused on the inside, right? So you don't need an abuser because you're doing it because you've heard that message so much from the abuser, you now do it within yourself. The energetic body is absorbing shame from others. So when others are projecting shame, when they're saying something really horrible to you, having no boundaries where you protect yourself energetically as well as with your words, which is when we go into the relational body. So it's other people feeling like it's okay and safe for them to dissolve their shame onto you because you are somebody that basically does that because you've been doing that your whole life ever since you were a little kid. So when they say a really horrible comment about the way you look or who you are, when people make a comment like that and it really hurts, that is a projection of shame. That person is not having a great day and they're feeling like they want to have a dig at someone. They're not doing it consciously, but they dissolve their shame by outward. Whereas sensitives and empathic people shame within yourselves. So you don't just get the shame that you're giving yourself, you're also getting the shame that other people are giving you as well. And when this carries on for a really long time, especially as you go later into your 30s, into your 40s, your body really starts to be impacted. That's what happened to me. You start to get burnt out, you start to get autoimmune because you have been this cloth for all of this shame. So, this is why when you want to heal and progress and break a pattern and have a great love, have a beautiful family, have success, have money, go for your purpose, all these things, you can't have those things when you have the poison of shame running in your energetic field. And the way that we take out the power and the way that we end the cycle is to help all of these bodies to let shame go. The other thing is your nervous system. So, your nervous system has been wired to feel that shame, being shamed, and shaming yourself is familiar and it's love, right? That's what you've worked it out. It's seen that message so many times, and now that's what it believes. So when you try and give yourself something better in life, a healthier relationship, a career that's more fulfilling, going for your purpose, going for higher income, raising the standard of your life, your nervous system is going to actually react to that because it's going to be like, this feels dangerous. Because the love we know is the love that you chase. The love we know is that you have to prove, you have to brace, you have to constantly fix yourself. You can't just be who you are and have love. It's literally been programmed that way. So often when you are on a path to evolve and have healthier love and healthier relationships, your body will fight you on it. When I first started to go out with my husband, I would have all these inner chats with myself, which was like, he's really boring. This isn't love. Oh, and looking for issues with him, looking for red flags when there weren't any. And that was all because the way he was, just healthy, present, consistent, loving, really into me, all of those things was so unfamiliar to me because that wasn't my experience of love growing up. That wasn't my experience of my family to have that kind of love. So it felt really dangerous. So all of this is in your energetic field. It's in your body. It's the way you relate to people. It's the way that you speak to people. It's the way that you have those relationships, the way that you speak to yourself, the way that you treat yourself. All of these things have got little bits of shame in them. So we have to, as part of the journey to end this pattern, is we have to go to all those different parts and begin to remove the shame, which is what I'm going to talk about in this week's next video. When I work with people on this, it can feel so edgy to think about shame because it's so dark. It's so, you put it in these little corners of our lives, right? Because it's like, well, something bad about ourselves, something dark and horrible. And how could somebody love this dark part of ourselves, right? And the crazy thing is that actually facing those parts is actually what allows more love in. And it's meeting those parts of you because shame is a frequency here on planet Earth, and it has been here for generations and generations. It has been used as a way to control and abuse people by very rich people in our world, right? So, my dad, at his core and his essence, when he came as a child, as a baby, he wasn't an abuser. A baby doesn't have shame, right? It comes into them from the environment of their family. So it's like, where did that come from? Who's abused somebody to control them and manipulate them to get them what they want? And a lot of people in power have been doing that for centuries. And that's what's living inside of our families, and that's what's living inside of our bodies. So when we get to the root of shame, which lives, there will be some unsafe in your root chakra. There will be shame in your sacral. When you get to the root of that and you help your younger parts to heal from that, then that is a journey to really ending, not just ending the cycle, right? You end the cycle, your kids won't have it, because what you don't deal with, your daughter and your children will have to deal with it. But you clear that straight away. And that's a mission of yours. That's on your heart for a reason because you're not meant to pass it along, right? That's why you have struggled in romantic love. That's why you have had issues with your health if you're trying to have children. That's why you've had these struggles because you're meant to learn the lesson to not pass it along to somebody else. And that is such a beautiful thing. And it is powerful because not only are you doing it for them and you're doing it for your younger child, as inner child that lives within you, you're doing it for her or him too, but also it completely changes your quality of life, right? I had this roommate living inside of me telling me I was this terrible person. And now I don't have that roommate anymore. It's wild. The other day, my husband made a little comment, and I was thinking, in the old days, that would have really hurt. But I actually saw that it was a slight little projection, and I called him out on it. I was like, that's not true. And I just wondered why you just said that because this is actually the truth. And it just made him tidy up his projection a little bit there. So a lot of people don't even know they're doing it. It's very unconscious. And if you don't manage that within people, it can just continue shame-filled relationship. I have a couple of resources to help you with this. So I have an emotional mastery guide, which will support you to regulate your nervous system so that as you are untangling yourself from shame, you can find your center and your peace. Because if you were somebody that was shaming yourself all of the time and you stop, that can feel really unsafe in the body. So you want to grab the emotional guide. It's completely free. The practice that I recommend to do this is to literally for a week or two, just observe how shame is showing up, right? So shame is I'm a bad thing or you're a bad thing. So notice how it lives inside of you on those different levels. And then also notice how other people are putting shame onto you and how you deal with that. Just observe it, don't absorb it. So see it as a third person. See shame as something you pull out and you look at and you're like, oh, right. That's what it's saying within me. That's what it's saying in other people. Just actually just notice. And here's the truth. You are the one that is destined to break this cycle. And it's not from endless healing. And it's not from this obsession with fixing yourself. And it's not from avoiding. It's actually by meeting the parts of you that are shame-filled with total and utter love, empathy, and vulnerability. The cycle doesn't end by isolating yourself and doing it alone. It ends because it's met with love and empathy, not just from yourself, but from other relationships, right? Because the shame came from relationships. So, in order to end it, you need healthy relationships to end the cycle. Now, how do you do that? Because you don't have them in your family system, and then you might be attracting trauma bonds. So, how do you have it? Because let's say you have a truth, which is this is a shame-filled experience. You know, I was gaslighted, I was abused in this way. And then you're saying it, this has actually happened to me in my family system or other systems that I was part of. And they'll be like, no, that's in your head. That's not real. You're being really sensitive. That's not a thing. They don't believe you. And they don't believe you because it's not their reality. They don't want to see the parts of that system. They don't want the system to change. So they are going to gaslight you or ignore you or tell you that you're too much. And why are you trying to rock this? Why are you trying to have a better standard of life? Why are you trying to have a better standard of relationships? Which is why you have to be witnessed in safe relationships to be able to go, oh, I'm not the bad thing. This is shame. It is not me. And that's why I've created the community. It ends with me, where we as a community support each other to break these cycles, break these patterns, to allow ourselves to be witnessed. We reparent the inner child. We work with the nervous system for it to feel safe as we evolve and as we change. We learn how to be an empowered adult, someone that doesn't shame and project others or be abusive to ourselves. We do practices to process emotions like shame and grief and anger and sadness so that they get out of your energetic field. We consciously create the reality, the family, the relationships that you actually want that are aligned with your heart and soul. You learn how to do all of these things that I've done for myself to build a healthy marriage, to have a beautiful home, to work and do the job that I love, which is help other people to heal. All of that is in this community space. as well as a community of people that are doing this work. So you're not alone. And so you are witnessed in it. So that when you are breaking free of the dysfunction and people are kicking off at you, which they will because they don't want things to change, you have a sisterhood of support to be like, great, I am actually okay. I don't need to go back and be treated really badly because I have this emotionally safe space to heal and to evolve. So that and it's not centered on this healing or even avoiding, right? Because you can have blind spots that you are just not seeing because they're normal to you or they're normal to your family. But when you come into that community, you get coached by me, I will help you to find those blind spots. So you can be like, oh, I see what I'm doing. I'm going to stop doing that. Rather than just like that. And it's like walking around in the dark, which is what it's like when you're doing this for a really long time on your own and you're trying to break out of it and you can't quite. If you just comment community, and I will send that to you. So remember to observe over absorb and share in the comments any questions or any reflections. And I will see you in the next video in this series where I will teach you to end the cycle of shame.